Welcome back. I'm glad you're here. I'm going to do a vocabulary lesson today because, well, I've been posting questions on the community tab, and I've noticed that you enjoy the vocabulary questions the most. And I was cleaning out my closet and I came across this box of cards. And it's actually from a game called Gestures. Gestures. And I kept this box because I was using the cards in my class. I don't have all the other parts. There used to be a timer, and you had a minute to try to act out the words, and you had to try to get the people that you were playing with to say the word that you were gesturing. They had to guess the words. So, for example, I would pull out this card and I would have cat food or a minor, and I would have to act out these words. I don't know if you play word games like Scrabble or charades where you have to act out the phrase. And I kept the words or these cards because I was using them in my classroom. And I haven't taught in a classroom in years. I think 2007 probably was the last time I was actually in a classroom. So I've been teaching online for a long time. And I don't know, I kept the box of cards in case I ever entered another classroom, which hasn't happened. Anyway, to make a long story short, there's a good expression. I decided that maybe I should pull out the cards and make videos. I recommend that you learn at least 5 new words every week, if that's possible. If that's too difficult, then 3 words every week. I've chosen 5 cards, which means there are 10 vocabulary words. And 2 of the words I've already mentioned in other videos. So I'm going to review those 2 words. I talked about paperclip and I've talked about pinky. So check out those videos so you can learn about pinky and paperclip. Here are the words we're going to look at today. We're going to look at birthmark, bigamist, a handful, piggyback, and confess. When learning new vocabulary words, it's best to use them in an everyday situation. I know that you've probably had to make sentences in school, right? Here's a word, make a sentence. Here's a word, fill in the blank, right? So you can fill in a blank, you can make a sentence, but can you use them in a daily conversation, or can you use them in a story? So I tell my students, when you're learning 5 vocabulary words in a week, look for them when you're reading, look for them when you're watching a movie, look for these words that you're learning. And if you don't find them, try to use them yourself. How would you use these words? So we're going to take a look at that now. I think this word piggyback is a fun word to say. Piggyback. Here's how to use it. Piggyback. This is to carry someone on your back or shoulders. For example, Dad, give me a piggyback ride around the house. I think piggyback is a fun word to say and use. Let's confess is our next word. Do you have something to confess? Confess. To tell the truth about something you did wrong or kept secret. For example, she confessed she broke the window. Birthmark. Do you have a birthmark? I do. Birthmark. A birthmark or mark on your skin that you are born with. For example, I have a birthmark on my calf. Here's a word you don't hear every day: bigamist. Let's see how we can use it. Bigamist. This is a person who is married to two or more people at the same time, which is illegal in most places. For example, he got in trouble for being a bigamist. He had two wives. I know that in some countries it's okay to have more than one wife. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. Do you think it's a good idea for a man to have more than one wife? What about a woman having more than one husband? No, I'll stick with my one. And here's the next one: handful. Handful. A handful is a small amount that fits in your hand, or a person who is difficult to manage. For example, my little brother is a handful. He never sits still. Here's a funny story using all of the vocabulary words. Max was only 6, but he was a real handful. He ran, shouted, and climbed everything like a monkey. One day, he begged his older cousin, Sarah, for a piggyback ride around the backyard. As Sarah carried him, Max whispered in her ear, "I need to confess something." Sarah slowed down. "What is it this time?" "At recess, I told Mia I would marry her. But then I also said yes to Lily. Does that make me a bigamist?" he asked with wide eyes. Sarah laughed so hard she nearly dropped him. "Only in pretend kidland." Max grinned and pulled up his shirt. "Did you know I have a birthmark shaped like a dinosaur?" Sarah looked. "Wow, that's the wildest birthmark I've ever seen." Wasn't that a silly story? Now let's repeat the vocabulary words. I'll say the word. You repeat after me. Bigamist. Bigamist. Piggyback. Piggyback. Confess. Confess. Birthmark. Birthmark. Handful. Handful. That was awesome. Good job. Those are your 5 words for this week. Next week, I'm going to tell you 5 more vocabulary words. We'll see how we can use those. If you like vocabulary videos, check out these. And until next time, my students, please keep practicing. Bye.